The Arts Club has 2 shops constructing over 15 shows a year. This is where I talk shop with our designers and crew. I'm joined today by Ken McDonald, the set and costume designer for Waiting Room. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ace.
So this is not your first design
No, it's
at
not.
the Arts Club, is it?
No, I've done, I think, I was counting this morning, about 22 maybe shows.
22 shows, starting when?
I'm guessing the late 80s, around 88.
Yeah, and do you know what show it was?
It must have been 7 stories at the Seymour Street, the old Seymour Street.
And that was also with Morris?
Yep. I've done about 100 shows with Morris, I guess.
Oh, wow. Have they gotten easier or harder over the years? Or?
Well, we live together, right? So it's we've been together for 35 years.
Yeah.
So as he writes a play, I'm hearing it from page 1, and I might come home from doing something and he will have written 9 or 10 pages, and I'll read them, and if I don't like it or show enthusiasm, sometimes they get killed, and I feel badly that I've killed a few plays. But the nice thing about it is that as he's writing it, I'm starting to think about the design and talking to him about that. He might start to incorporate that every once in a while, going, oh, Ken's thinking it's going to be masses of chairs for this instance here. So it doesn't get any easier, but we have such a shorthand. We've done so many plays together. I can say, remember in this show when we did this kind of thing, I can do that and take this and steal from myself all the time and others.
So Waiting Room is an original production, like
Yes.
it hasn't been done before.
No, this is the first one.
How's it differ doing a design for an original production to like one that has been done before, like Comedy of Errors?
I would rather always do an original production because then you're the very first person to come up with a design for something. When I'm doing a show, like I'm doing Our Town at Shaw this year, so it's been done a million times. So I think, well, I try to come up with an idea and then I'll research what other people have done. Because I think I might as well know, you know, you can type it into Google, images, Our Town, thousands of student productions, whatever, to professional. So I always do reference what other people have done and see that, oh, that was a good idea or that wasn't, or I'm glad I didn't do that, or I could steal that little bit. But I'd rather do a new show all the time, because then you're the first, and then from then on people are referencing yours as the original production.
Tell us a bit about your concept for the set and costumes.
Sometimes I'll do a very realistic set, but most often I will do something slightly abstract or symbolic. So you think, well, what's the most obvious? And sometimes the most obvious pun is a really good idea. What do you do when you're waiting? You're waiting. You're sitting in a chair. You're waiting. You're waiting. So I thought, what if there were just a whole bunch of chairs? And then I began to think, how many? Like when I first started to draw it, I drew about 300 chairs, and told you guys, I think I need 300 chairs, and everybody freaks out. Actually, we probably have about 120, 120, yeah, somewhere in there. Flying, there may be 120 on stage. So I culled them down. Once I started to make a model, I could see that that was too many, but I was just guessing by hand drawing that I need 300. And then I thought, what if it's all white? Because it's very clinical, it's a hospital. So myriads of chairs. I wanted to fly in rows of chairs regimented, that was the waiting room, jumbles of chairs, the mix-up of the hospital and all the things that are going through, and then in the simplicity of what's called J and L's house, just 14 simple chairs, and they're all like dining room chairs. It's their house chairs. The other ones are more regimented.
So when we were looking for 300 chairs for your show,
Yes.
Our plan was just to go through alleys of Vancouver and pick out as many possible chairs as we could and paint them all white. Did you have to do a lot of thinking to pick specific chairs?
Well, no, like Michael Gall, who's the head of props here, he started to send me pictures of chairs that he'd found on Craigslist or that people were giving away, some from IKEA that he bought, because I wanted to have some, maybe 10 or 20 that were identical, that feeling of they're all the same chairs in the waiting room. And actually, once they sprayed them white and showed me some pictures, almost every chair started to look nice. We had an excess of maybe 50 or 60 chairs that I could cull through and go, well, let's not use those ones. But once they became sprayed, they had a uniformity that really looked, and we have 3 different shades of white. I don't think you'd really ever know that. But I didn't want it to look like we just sprayed the whole set. Yeah. But I lay them on the floor, and then the set people came along and they found a point of balance in them and tied them and flew them up. So I did it as if I was looking at it from above, like God, and that's put the chairs like this, and then they made them work, and they did an incredible job.
And then as you got one row of chairs up, you would sketch in behind to see where the next row
I could see what the negative spaces were left and what I had to fill, so I could go, oh, there's a big hole here on upper stage right, I can fill that with the jumble. So yeah, I did that on my iPad. I draw everything on my iPad.
And the design sort of developed as we went through the process. Like from concept, we had envisioned a whole white space, and then
Yes.
some floor design kind of came into it.
I think because having done a number of shows with Morris, and especially with that have any movement in them, he likes to have graphics on the floor because it's a good reference for the actors. They can go, oh, I set my first 3 chairs on this letter, on this line. So I was specifically given some lines that they'd taped on the floor in the rehearsal room, and I incorporated them into the design on the floor. I was going to do an all-white floor, but I began to think of the white chairs on the white floor. It might be too bright and not enough contrast.
Yeah.
So I did a pale gray floor, which under lights becomes quite light anyway.
So doing designs for almost 30 years, how has it changed the most for you? Like new technology, or has the process changed, or have you grown as a designer?
I think I have. I mean, although you would think I'd be extremely confident, but every new show I think I have no more ideas, I'll never be able to do it. I mean, every show I think, oh my God, I don't have. And then what I usually do is I like working in white. I have a white model box made by my assistant of the set. And then I start to get white paper and I put a arc lamp shining into that box and I start to fold paper. And once I start to fold paper and see how the light hits it, so then I'm working in scale all the time, but really tiny, sometimes 1/8 inch, which is only this big, and sometimes 1/4 inch, never in 1/2 inch, or because it's too much. Because when you're working in a small size, it's easily disposable. I can cut and go, I like that, I don't like that. If I've devoted myself to doing a big model, then it's not as easily changed. And I just finished doing an opera for Pacific Opera, I mean designing it, and I just took pieces of paper that I cut in random shapes and I rolled them on a pencil. And then once they unraveled, I could see what that looked like. And so I like playing with that organic kind of stuff.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's been excellent working with you, Ken, and see you next time on Shop Talk.
Thank you.